Happy Tuesday, everyone. I called to order the regular meeting of the Board of Public Works this March 30th, 2021. First up, we have messages from board members. Do we have any messages from board members tonight?
Just a quick message to thank everyone who works hard to keep our city beautiful and for getting all the potholes filled.
2,506 potholes as of this afternoon.
Wow, it's amazing. It's a great job. They're all, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that's this year, Adam?
Since since pretty much January 1st, 2,506.
Wow.
We do a daily count on the pothole filling. This year's been particularly rough with the way the winter was. So we've been hard at it, and I got the update today, so I figured I'd share.
Yeah.
I think it's important to let everyone know the numbers. That's incredible. Whoa. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up, we have petitions and remonstrances. First up, we have appeal noise citation number 38006 for 524 North College Avenue, apartment 403.
Yeah, hi, good evening. This is Daniel Dixon with the City of Bloomington Legal Department. I see that I think our appellant is here tonight. So I would ask that he go ahead and go first if he has any kind of information or other arguments he would like to present to the board. And then after he's done, I would have Officer Britton, who's here to testify and provide some information and answer any questions the board may have as well.
Great, thanks. So do we have the appellant here tonight?
We do see. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's me.
Yes.
So this was February 26th. A few of my buddies were just hanging out in my apartment. We were listening to music, watching a movie, just hanging out, 7 or 8 people. It was late. It was around 2:33, but we were not having a party. We were just hanging out. And then I saw 3-4 officers outside my apartment, and they said we have received complaints about their excessive noise, and we would give you a citation for that. And I asked, okay, we're not having a party. You can check. There's 6 or 7 people inside, and if that's really really loud, give us a warning, and it would not happen again. And officer refused to give me a warning and give me a citation on hand that very moment. So that's why, I mean, if I would have known, none of my neighbors contacted me. No one told me at that point of time. So I had no idea at that point of time until the officer showed up that we were loud, and we received the citation at that particular point. So that's why I thought of appealing it, and I could answer any questions you have. And yeah, on that regards, yes. In the past, I've never received like any speeding tickets or any misdemeanors, any of that sort, clean as a person. So if you have any other questions, you can feel free to ask that on that basis.
I'd like to just start. This is Adam Wason, Public Works Director. I'd like to start with a question. Sir, have you received a noise citation in the past?
Yeah, only that I received on February 12th.
Okay.
This year, and that was my 21st birthday. Just was turning 21. Did not want to go to the bars. Had a small party, and
yeah.
That I did not want to appeal that because that was completely my fault. And I did receive it at 11 p.m., 11:30, and I shut the party after that, even though it was my 21st birthday. So that I take completely blame on myself. But this was something I conflicted and did not like, in my opinion. I'm sorry about that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Daniel, did you want to offer anything from the city legal's perspective, or did you want Officer Britton to speak to this at all?
I was going to have Officer Britton speak to this. Officer, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Can you go ahead and just introduce yourself to the board?
So I'm Officer Britton. Sorry that it says my old IU email. So I've been working with Bloomington since last June. And I was on night shift when I met Mr. Garge.
I want to talk to you, I guess, about the noise violation we're here about today, which was the February 26th, 2021 violation. Can you just kind of talk the board through your actions kind of that early morning leading up to issuing that citation?
Yeah. So that evening, the noise complaint had actually been sitting on the board for over an hour because we had other calls that were taking priority at that time. By the time I was able to get to the call, it had 3 previous call-ins to the point where I believe you guys can see the call notes saying that the person is calling in multiple times, and now it's getting to every 10 minutes they're starting to call 911. So because I've already had previous interactions at this address, I went up there, got off the elevator, could hear the music within my public hearing zone. And so I went and knocked on the door. And because of how the city ordinance violation works and giving a citation, it's a rollover ticket. So within 365 days, you are able to get, it's first citation is $50, second one's 100, and the next is 500. I had already given Mr. Garza a warning on his birthday, and then another officer had walked up previously or after me and said the noise hadn't cut up. So I went back upstairs and then did give him a cite, unfortunately, on his 21st birthday. Unfortunate, wasn't what I had planned. But at the end of the day, the noise didn't get turned down, and he was issued a cite for a valid noise complaint. Because I've had previous interactions there, it being 3 o'clock in the morning, I had explained to him previously that the ticket is a rollover ticket. So within 365 days from that original ticket, you leave yourself up to being ticketed and cited again. And because I'd already had the previous interaction, I did go ahead and cite him for a valid noise complaint.
And that was the $100 amount?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
do.
Go ahead, Beth.
Okay. Officer, you didn't mention this tonight, but I think I read that you could hear the noise as soon as you got off the elevator, and that was 6 or 7 doors away where the party was taking place or where the noise is coming from.
So how that hallway is laid out, yes, I would say it was about 30, 40 feet away from the door that I could hear audibly the music coming out of the room.
Okay. Now, Mr. Gard, I have a question for you too.
Yes, correct.
You said that there were 7, you didn't call it a party, you said it was 7 people in there and that they wouldn't be making that much noise. Well, I think 6 or 7 men gathered together listening to music at 3 a.m. probably was more like a party, and the officer obviously heard the noise.
Yep. Depending on that, like I personally am a big fan of music. I like listening to loud music. I would not want to say that it was a party, but yeah, I like to DJ, so I was showing them something, and that might have gone a little excessive. But if I asked the officer if he wants to come inside, he can check if there are more people than allowed. And as again, I wasn't aware that the music is as loud because nobody had contacted me. None of my neighbor ever talked to me. So I was oblivious at that particular point. And that's when I saw him and I realized how loud the music was. And I was willing to turn it off at that particular point if I would have just received a warning, or just like, if you tell me, I would do it. I wasn't trying to throw a party. It was a Thursday night. I respect my neighbors. I respect the people. So that was my only concern at that point, if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Any more questions from the board?
I just wanted to offer a comment that I think right now it's probably, there's an added layer of confusion because we do have some additional ordinances around gatherings because of the pandemic. And really a noise ordinance violation can happen by one individual. It doesn't matter how many people are gathered. It's really about the noise that's emitting from the property. And so it's something that you'll want to keep in mind. You know, I wish we were in an environment where more people would talk to their neighbors and have those conversations without having to involve the police. And I wish that that had happened for you in this situation. But it is a city ordinance that we, you know, uphold, that if people are experiencing excessive noise, that is the path that they can take to remedy that. So I just wanted to offer that clarification that we appreciate you weren't having a large gathering of people and you weren't violating the gathering ordinance, but they are two separate issues.
Thanks, Kyla. Is there any public comment on this item?
I don't see any raised hands and I don't see anything in the chat function, Kyla, or Dana, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion on the item?
I move that we deny the appeal for the noise citation number 38006 for 524 North College Avenue, apartment 403.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have appeal of notice of violation for right-of-way use at 1205 North Madison by Bloom Design and Build LLC.
Mike Stewart, do we have, Mike, are you here?
I am. I believe that Mr. Evans was going to go first,
Okay.
I believe.
Do we have the appellant, there's Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Kalen Evans. I'm a property owner of this particular property, 1205 North Madison. Also acting as general contractor on the home that we're building there. I tried to give as much detail in the letter that I submitted with the appeal, but obviously we had some sidewalk work that we did here. My fault. I was unaware that I needed the right-of-way permit to do that sidewalk work. And Mike did come out Friday afternoon. I think it was February 26th, and I had probably been to the job site maybe within a few hours of him being there, and the crew doing that work there had mentioned that the city came by and said we needed a permit. So I called into engineering as soon as I got back to my office and tracked down who I needed to talk to figure out what kind of paperwork I needed to move to get this cleared up. And they got me into Mike. I explained what was going on and that was my fault. I did not know that we needed that permit. I knew of the right-of-way permit, but thought that was only if we were getting out into the street. And obviously that's not the case. So I told him I'd get the paperwork together for him right away on the permit, the insurance, and the bond info. At that point, we were expecting to pour the concrete the next day, Saturday anyways. So, and this was all taking place late Friday afternoon. So it seemed like this would probably all be water under the bridge, just get the permit paid for and get everything open back up. That did not happen, unfortunately. We did, we kept caution tape around the sidewalk. I had cones on both ends. In Mike's defense, I mean, he did mention, he sent over I think it ended up being Monday that I got the schematic and the warning notice about how the sidewalk signage, the particulars of a proper sidewalk closure signage looked. So he mentioned that Friday evening that, hey, by the way, 2 cones and all this caution tape still isn't technically compliant, but I was hoping would be open the next day or over the weekend anyways. That didn't happen. We had some bad weather that Saturday evening, a pretty heavy rain. I was hoping then it ended up actually being Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday morning that they poured the concrete. And so we had the cones and the caution tape down Wednesday. And then let me check my notes here so then I had an email Thursday from Mike that at about 11:30 that even though we'd reopened the sidewalk and the signage was down, we still had a pile of gravel they hadn't moved that was still partially blocking the sidewalk. And so we still technically were non-compliant about this signage. And I think it was late then at some point Thursday afternoon that we got the rest of the gravel cleared. And at that point had the sidewalk completely reopened. So kind of a unfortunate chain of events that from my perspective, Friday, I was thinking, well, this is going to be done tomorrow anyways. I don't have the signage I need, but it's going to be opened in a day. So shouldn't be too much to worry about. And then it really wasn't until 4:30 Monday that I did receive the warning letter from Mike, and I'll admit I did not look at it closely enough to realize how quickly these fines escalated. And I should have noticed that when he sent that Monday, but in my defense, I didn't have that until Monday afternoon. Still thought we were going to have the sidewalk open within a day or so. And by Wednesday, I thought we were open. And then Thursday, it turns out the gravel's still holding us back. We're not technically open. So just something that should have been pretty simple that turned into almost a week here of having this 40-foot section of sidewalk obstructed. And but then I got the official fine of $3,500 and was not just was a little shell shocked. And then the only other thing from my perspective is that the actual work, the replacement of the sidewalk stemmed from a letter the city had sent me. I have to look here and see what the date was. I think it was late 2019, asking that I replace the sidewalk as the homeowner because there were some cracks and some uneven spots in it. Since we were doing this work anyways and pouring the porches for this house, I decided to go ahead and pull that sidewalk out to put 40 feet of new sidewalk in. I could have salvaged, in my opinion, some of that sidewalk, but I knew the city wanted it, so that's why I put it in. And then it turns out we were able to find that letter, and the city was kind enough to waive the permit fee for the right-of-way permit that I had no idea about. So I ended up with a $200 permit for free, but a $3,500 violation. And this is, we do some construction work, we do some renovation work. I own rental properties, but this is my first full-on new construction build. This is my first right-of-way work in the city. It was my mistake, obviously, but I was not aware of the severity of these fines. And I had paid for the permit already. I did everything I could to expedite getting Mike what he needed for the permit, and happy to pay the permit fee. But the fine seems to me pretty excessive given the circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Sure.
Mike, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so everything, the timeline that Mr. Evans brought up, all of that does mesh with what I have. He did apply that Friday, so Friday the 26th, he did send me an application for the right-of-way permit. So he did get that to us very quickly. I guess the one thing that I just want to mention is that every day, Friday, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was in communication with Mr. Evans requesting, I guess just requesting to have the proper signage in place. And yeah, I think that's pretty much in constant communication with him on it. And it never did get brought up to what it needed to be during that time.
Thanks, Mike. Dana, if I may, this is Adam Wason again, Public Works Director. Thank you, Mr. Evans, and thank you, Mike, for your comments. I just wanted to make a couple comments for the public record here and offer and actually start with one question for Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, the Public Works Department is, for a lot of reasons, we send out those sidewalk letters for repair. Since the 70s, sidewalk repair has been the responsibility of the adjacent property owners, et cetera. And that's where those letters really come from. I'm curious, did you ever reach out to Public Works staff once you got the letter to inquire about what we were requesting? Or, you said you still had some good panels. You didn't maybe need to replace everything. So I'm just curious if you ever reached out to street department staff about that.
I did not. I'd known even, and obviously some time did. I mean, it was,
it's 2019.
So
Yep.
some time has, I didn't jump right on it,
Yep.
but I knew even then that I was planning this demo and new build there, and that at that point that would be the time, the most convenient time for me to look at it. And I know the biggest reason I bring that up just because at first it kind of made it sound like we needed to excavate the sidewalk in order to do some utility work there, putting in a new water line to the meter. And that was not the motivation. I could have got under that sidewalk if we really wanted to, or I could have just took the one panel.
Yeah.
So the intention was if we're going to do it for, $1,500, we're putting a nice house here. Let's go ahead and get the sidewalk taken care of.
Great. I appreciate that. My question was kind of twofold. One was, if we did have panels that could have been salvaged and such, if our staff didn't, do that type of coordination, I was interested in that. But because, when we do send those letters, we're willing to come out and inspect and say, hey, it's only these 3 panels that we really need replaced and such.
Sure.
So that's part why I asked that question. The comments I wanted to make are, and I said this during a work session yesterday, so in 2020, we worked, for several years leading up to 2020, we worked really hard as a staff at the city to update what we call Title 12. And Title 12 regulates the use of the right-of-way. And so regulating the use of the right-of-way for things like excavation and construction activities and dumpster placements, everything else. And it was several years in the making, lots of staff effort to update that. It was out of sync with current times. You could close 3 lanes of Walnut Street for a day and you'd be fined like $100. We just didn't. And so there was a lot of reasons why we updated that. A couple points I want to make is that we've got a pretty active population around Bloomington that report sites that aren't in compliance to us, members of the public. Unfortunately, some of those are right in your geographic area. In your instance, and so it's a focus of ours, and we have city council who we originally had lower fine amounts, and the city council themselves from what we recommended for the new ordinance, the city council themselves actually raised the amounts higher because of the importance that they place on pedestrian accessibility and all those sorts of things. So the point in my comments is, and I said this yesterday as well, is, unfortunately, there are some firsts for everything. This is the first fine that we've issued under the new ordinance. And so, if, it's 4 or 5 days of sidewalk, of 40 feet of sidewalk not being accessible, it's partly that we're really looking, to make sure our inspections are happening on a regular basis, but it's also making sure that signage is in place. to direct people to the other side of the street well before they get there, things like that. And that's why, Mike and I had lots of discussions, and he kind of explained to the board yesterday is, there was never really an attempt to put in the proper signage. Mike mentioned that, there was never asked of him to say, hey, where can I get that kind of signage around town? Or do you know of a, rental company, things like that.
You guys could rent it to me, or yeah.
Yeah. And so, while this is unfortunate, staff is recommending that we uphold the fine. And I don't even mean unfortunate. While this is unfortunate for you, this is something that staff did put a lot of thought and effort into. And I do thank Mike for his efforts and trying to be reasonable. And we did get a lot of questions answered, but, staff is recommending at this time that we do uphold the fine. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, Adam. Do we have any questions from board members?
I just wanted to add a comment. One, I appreciate all the documentation that both the petitioner and the staff provided in this particular item. I feel like we have a pretty good handle of everything that is going on, and of course appreciate that the sidewalk has been improved, which will be beneficial to a lot of people. Just, echoing Adam's comments, this is something our board handles every single meeting, is right-of-way use and closure. And it's not that you're the first person to ever use the right-of-way in violation of the city ordinance. But typically, when we do have violations, they are brought back into compliance really quickly, and that's really important for a lot of different reasons. I do get contacted by people who may have differing abilities, and to try to navigate a sidewalk closure is an extra, burden on them that, especially if it's unexpected, can be really problematic for their ability to engage and interact in the community. And so we do, as a board, take these issues really seriously, and have been, coordinating our efforts with staff, and of course the wishes of the city council to ensure that, we are as pedestrian friendly, but just accessible to the community as a whole, in every way that we can be. And so, sidewalk and right-of-way violations, even though I understand this ended up being a lot longer than you had hoped for, it's something that, does have a really detrimental impact on people who are navigating the city. And so it is a serious issue.
Thanks, Kyla. Any other comments or questions from board members? Any public comment?
I don't see anything in the chat, and it looks like there might be only one or maybe two members of the public here, and I don't see any raised hands.
Okay, thanks. Is there a motion on the item?
I move that we deny the appeal of a violation of right-of-way use for chapter 12.08, and that's for 1205 North Madison Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, is there anyone that has any public comment on any items not on the agenda tonight? So this is the opportunity to make comment on anything not on the agenda.
I don't see anything at all. No.
Okay, thanks. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. In the consent agenda tonight, we have the approval of minutes from March 16th, 2021. We have the quarterly staff report pursuant to the amended resolution 2016-02, the staff level approval of standard development encroachment requirements. We have the right of entry and license agreement with City Flats on Walnut, and approval of payroll. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda? Any public comment on consent agenda? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is new business. First up is resolution 2021-06, push cart in public right of way for seedlings.
Hi, folks. I'm here having technical difficulties. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jane.
So I've only done this one other time. I'm going to go ahead and read my staff report in lieu of Marnina, who wasn't able to make it tonight. So this is regarding business in the right-of-way, resolution 2021-06, as Dana stated. The petitioner is Laura Deck, DBA Seedlings, Flower Cart and Truck. This pertains to the cart. The staff rep is Marnina, and I am Jane Cooper Smith repping Marnina tonight. Sole proprietor Laura Deck, DBA Seedlings, Flower Cart and Truck, has applied for a business license to operate a push cart selling flowers. An applicant wanting to operate in the right-of-way must obtain permission from the Board of Public Works before a license may be issued. The Department of Economic and Sustainable Development has reviewed the application and will confirm that all rules and regulations have been met prior to issuing a license. The business will operate from a push cart selling flowers. The application is for 24 hours on Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. Staff is supportive of this request. Happy to take questions.
Any questions from the board? Any public comment on this item?
I see none.
All righty. Do we have a motion?
I move approval of resolution 2021-06, push cart in public right-of-way seedlings.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up is noise waiver and nighttime work for College Mall Road repaving project.
Good evening. This is Roy Ayton with the City Engineering Department. E&B Paving is requesting a noise permit for nighttime work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Along the South College Mall Road from East 3rd Street to East Morris Pike. On August 4th, 2020, the Board of Public Works awarded a contract to E&B Paving for milling and repaving College Mall Road. They are now requesting to complete milling during the day and then paving the road at nighttime. This phase of the work will begin on April 26th and run through May 1st. The approval of this permit will waive the city noise ordinance for construction and equipment noise throughout the above mentioned dates. And the staff, we're supporting the waiver of noise ordinance so that they can get the work done at night.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on this item?
I brought this up in the meeting yesterday, but I wanted to be sure that the condominium, people that reside in that condominium at the corner have been notified.
Yes, we've gone out and done notifications. Michael Large had been out. We didn't do door to door with all of the condos. We tried to reach out to their property management firms. We didn't have any we didn't have any major pushback of any kind. They actually, although it will be a few nights of disruption, it'll be way less disruptive overall for these residents getting in and out of their properties and such. So, we did definitely take that, and we're doing a lot of coordination with all the businesses as well to make sure, delivery coordination, all that. So thanks to Michael and his efforts on that.
Yeah, thanks for discussing it, Adam.
Something I was just going to mention also that we had discussed during the meeting is that generally this when we have a situation where there are crews working both during the day and the night, they are really conscious of doing the noisier activities, the milling activities during the day. And, at night, there might be some reverse, occasional reverse beep sounds or other general truck noises, but that they try to avoid doing, the really excessively noisy work in the middle of the night.
And it would still be the lane closures during the nighttime, correct, Roy?
Yeah, so their plan, as they put it towards me, is they want to take a lane and then they will mill that lane during the day, and then the night crew will come in and pave that very lane. So it'll be one lane closed down, and then over the 4 days, they'll go across College Mall doing all 4 lanes. So they're saying they'll do one lane at a time.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the board? Any public comment on this item? I think you're talking at him, but you're
Nope, not seeing any.
All righty. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the noise permit for nighttime work on College Mall Road for E&B Paving.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And next up, we have construction of wall at Bloomington Police Department headquarters.
This is Adam Wason here on behalf of JD Boroff this evening. This is for a small construction project of a wall at a BPD facility to facilitate, I think, some locker room areas and some other amenities at the police training facility. Strouser Construction has been recommended as the lowest and responsive bidder for the project, just under $3,000, I think it was. There was one other bidder that was quite a bit higher, and I think the third quote we requested did not submit anything. But yeah, this is just a small scale project that JD's moving forward at the BPD training facility.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, it looks like we did get 3
Oh,
quotes.
did we get the third? I couldn't
Yeah.
get to the staff report quickly enough. Sorry.
That's okay. Any questions from the board on this item?
No.
There it is. Yeah, so this would be in the amount of $2,975 to Strouser Construction.
Great. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none,
Nope.
do we have a motion?
I move that we award the contract for wall construction of Bloomington Police Department to Strouser Construction Company for $2,975.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next up, we have staff reports and other business.
Excuse me. Again, Adam Wason, Public Works Director. Just a real brief staff report this evening. I want to start with just sending condolences to the officer, to the family of officer, a deputy driver with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office who was killed in the line of duty last evening on the west side of Bloomington. I just want to send from the entire Public Works team our condolences to his family, thank him for his service to the community, and just a very tragic incident, and send our support to all of those folks impacted, and to all of his fellow officers and those with BPD. So just quick other updates for Public Works. We talked about the College Mall paving project this evening, and just wanted to just kind of for public knowledge mention that this will fall right in as the Morris Pike and Sarah Road intersection improvements are wrapping up. The paving project will pick up, and they're 2 separate projects, but most of the public won't recognize that. So They will kind of be piggybacking that other project right as it's completing. So it'll be a nice corridor improvement overall. Beyond that, I have nothing else to report this evening.
Thanks, Adam. Next up, we have the approval of claims. Did anyone have any questions on claims from the board? Okay, any public comment on claims?
I have a question.
Sure, Beth.
Well, under animal control, it was Brian Thurberg had applied or had an ACL repair. I didn't know whether that was for him or for the dog. Just supposed to be funny.
Almost heard of it. Huh. I think it was the dog.
Okay. I thought so, but I just wanted to check. It's like Brian Thurberg, ACL repair surgery. I thought, well, I just check on. It's really.
So Brian is the vet who did the repair. It did the surgery,
Okay.
and Brian's great. We really appreciate him. That's at a highly discounted rate for his time and services, and we try to take care of all of those animals that we do take care of all of those animals that enter our care. And this was a dog that was being fostered and needed some significant health.
Yeah, I guess. I didn't realize dogs injured their ACL, so it's new to me.
Yep.
Thank you.
It says mobile animal surgical care. So does he come to the animal shelter? Okay, so he performs those operations there.
Yeah, and one of the great things that with the animal shelter renovations of a few years back, we also added space where veterinary services could be administered as well. So while we don't keep a veterinary, it'll be a discussion for years to come whether or not we should actually have a vet on staff. Might need to be the highest paid city employee or something, but but we did build in space that's also available for vets that do come on site to assist with medical treatments or medical care. They can do that on site as well.
Awesome.
That's really good. That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on claims?
And any public comment on claims?
I move that we approve claims in the amount of $1,157,530.80.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And if there's nothing else, I will call for adjournment.
Have a great night.
Have a happy Easter, everyone.
You
Good
too.
night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Mhm.